Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the Bethlehem Centers of Nashville, Tennessee and the Arts Show. And we're happy to have with us the executive director of one of the Bethlehem Centers, Ms. JSearcy. And Ms. Searcy, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. I'm glad to be here.
Ms. Searcy, I think we mentioned earlier that the name of this show is the Bethlehem Centers. And many people might not know that Bethlehem Center has more than one location. And so why don't we talk about that
I'm glad
and
to
about the history of that. Okay,
for
do that.
your audience today, because most people in Nashville have known us as Bethlehem Center, and we're located at 1417 Charlotte Avenue. But we have had historically two other locations in Nashville. One was in the Germantown area, and our very first location was the Lucy Holt Center over in the South Nashville area, and we still have another center in that area in the Tony Sudicum housing projects, serving Tony Sudicum and J.C. Napier homes, and that is called the John Wesley Center. And so recently our board voted to change our name after some research it did in the community and because of the tradition in the community to change the name to Bethlehem Centers of Nashville. And so we are presently operating in buildings at Tony Sudicum Homes and at the center on Charlotte Avenue. But we are serving Tony Sudicum Homes, J.C. Napier, Andrew Jackson, John Henry Hale, Preston Taylor, and Cheatham Place.
As a matter of fact, I think that your center would probably serve more of the housing areas, housing projects, I think, than any other of the centers. Why don't you talk about that? I mean, what are you doing in those areas?
Last year, Dr. Haney, we served over 4,000 people through our work. And we work with families, at-risk children and families, to help them to build better lives for themselves. That is our philosophy, because we think if we work with people and we give them the tools with which they can do something to improve their own lives, then they can do something to not only improve their own lives and their families' lives, but to contribute to the total community. So that is our philosophy, starting with care for infants and children, and we work with child development all the way up through 6th grade, so that's an after-school program. Then we do tutoring programs with our youth. Then we try to carry our youth on to youth leadership development programs. Like many people in the audience probably have heard about our Men of Distinction program, because we just got a national award for that program. We received an award from the National Department of Juvenile Justice, and they have named that program as a national model to be replicated throughout the country. We have a literacy program that is funded, that had been funded through United Way, and the Music City Links bought the computers for that program. So we have an IBM PALS lab up there teaching people how to read, how to help themselves. We have a seniors program, and we feed hot lunch, that is a Meals on Wheels program, to 62 homebound and elderly every day. So we touch the whole family, distributing food, registering people to vote, all with emphasis in mind of helping people to help better their own lives.
Okay, and I think you've mentioned some of the programs that you're involved in. Let's look at some of those programs, because I think that our audience should get some idea of what you're trying to do in terms of meeting some of the needs, some of the pressing needs that we have.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier your Men of Distinction program. I think that that has been talked about in Nashville and in several areas, and people are very familiar with that program, but some people might not know about it. Talk about that program for a while.
The Men of Distinction program was originally funded through the Black Health Care Task Force through the Department of Health from the state of Tennessee. And one of the reasons why the Black Healthcare Task Force funded such a project is we want to see our black male youth become stronger. And they're treating this as a health issue. It was intended to help prevent homicide and violence among our black male youth, because that is the #1 killer of our black male youth. And so we intended to treat it as a health issue. And with our African American youth, we know that if they feel good about themselves and we can develop them to have strong leadership skills, stay in school, pay attention to their bodies, which means that we don't want them to be involved in drugs or alcohol. Impress upon them that to be a man, you don't need to necessarily get out here and make babies either. We need for you to show your strength by doing some other things in the community. And these young men have gone on to address audiences. They have carried themselves through question and answer periods on our live radio shows. They've been on television. They went to, during Hurricane Hugo, they went to the coast to clean up the area, because we want them to know that there's always something that you're able to give to other people. And so they gave of themselves to clean up the churchyards and the schools in those areas. They've been to Washington, D.C. They have spoken at the Black legislative retreats here in the state of Tennessee. And there's some phenomenal young men. And so we know the kinds of things that are possible through certain positive experiences. There are a lot of black adult males, too, who have volunteered to be their mentors. And so we're having wonderful success with that program.
And of course, if you talk in terms of replicating that program, what are some of the possibilities that you see in that program?
Recently, our staff went to New Orleans, I think it was in April, and the U.S. Department of Juvenile Justice identified 4 programs across the country to come and talk to individuals from across the country. So we explained what the program is about, and we are available to go to cities across the country to explain what we do in this program, and then individuals can apply through the youth juvenile justice programs within their own states to get funding to replicate this program in their states.
And so that's quite a feather in the cap of Bethlehem Centers.
It is.